It's time for the Coach Groves Show, where we sit down with the head coach of the Darlington Tigers football team and talk about all things Darlington School football. Now we go live to Matt Davis and Ian Griffin, who are standing by with Coach Wayne Groves.
Indeed we are, and excited to be as we get ready for another week of Darlington Tigers football. We're hanging out with Coach Groves, and first of all, as we open up the show each and every week, Coach, how you doing today, sir?
We're doing good. Ready for another week of Darlington Tigers football and ready to get back at it. So we're 2 days away, so we'll be ready.
Absolutely, and we got a lot to unpack here, so we'll just go ahead and jump into our questions. Of course, last week it was a bye week. Before the bye week, you guys played your second region game of the season down in Lindale against Pepperell. Had some bright spots in the game, so let's start there, Coach. Tell us some of the things that you really felt like went well for your team in the game against Pepperell 2 weeks ago.
Well, we got off to a good start, and that was one of the things obviously we wanted to do. Stopped them on their first series, actually got an intercept. Ty Wood did a great job of dropping in the curl and picking off the ball right there on a snag route, curl route. And then we go down, and I thought, we should have scored right there. And against a good team, you've got to take advantage of those opportunities. And we fumble the ball on the 3-yard line. We get the ball back. We stop them again, and then we go score. I thought we should have been up 14-0 right there. And if you don't, miss out on those little opportunities, that's a totally different ball game. Getting up 14-0. And, it's just one of those things that if you take away about 4 plays in that game, it is a totally different ball game. Especially in the first half, we gave up some big plays that we shouldn't have. And, anything can happen. But that just shows you that momentum is huge in these high school football games. If you get opportunities against good teams, you better capitalize because it could cost you later on in a ball game. So I was happy that we started off, hot and all that. But, we got to cash in on those opportunities when we get them and not, fumble the football.
Well, our honeymoon bakery icing on the cake player of the game last week was Ty Wood. You mentioned his interception, but and that play certainly stood out early in the game, gave you some momentum on that next defensive possession. He got a great stop on a screen, which you had talked about how much y'all were working on that screen defense a few weeks ago on the show. So a couple of big plays early from Ty. So what can you tell us about his performance in the game and how he approaches playing in general?
Well, he's a great kid. He's a great kid, and he's a great young man. He has excellent grades. He has an excellent work ethic. I don't think he's missed a practice in 3 years. I was thinking about it today, and I don't think he has. I think he's had perfect attendance. So he's been in our Champions Club, perfect attendance. We give awards out for that at the summer. He does everything he can to help our team win. He's playing linebacker. He's 5'9". He's 170 pounds soaking wet, and he's playing offensive line. He's playing linebacker, and he just does anything that he can do to help our team win. But he's a model Darlington student. He's an overachiever. He's a really tough kid that just wants to help the Tigers win. So we really love Ty at Darlington.
Well, Coach, obviously one of the things y'all do immediately after a game is hit the film room, start reviewing what happened in the game, areas of improvement, things you like, all those sorts of things. So on that note, what areas of improvement did you identify from watching the film on the game, and what sort of challenges did you you and your staff issue to your team as you continue to strive to get better each and every week?
Well, we have to do a better job of taking the individual drills, taking practice, and taking the game plan to the game. Pepperell did not run one play that we didn't rep numerous times at practice. We had them pegged on exactly what they were, what they did, and we had a good plan to stop it. Now, our execution was not very, very great. Our 180-pound D lineman, when you stand up against 275 guys and 300-pound guys, you're going to get knocked off the ball. And we stood up. We didn't play double teams well. We didn't play reach blocks well. And we didn't force the ball out of the secondary. When those sweeps come around there, we got to have guys rip and come set the edge. We got to have guys come off and send it back inside, and we just didn't do a good job of that, even though we did it in practice. We got in the game, and I think we freaked out a little bit. But we got to do a better job of taking the game plan and practice to the game and execute when it's time to execute it, when that's the most important time. So that's what we got to do better on. That's been the talk amongst the team and everybody involved.
Well, Coach, after that, the loss to Pepperell, you had a bye week, a little more time to watch film, a little more time to evaluate, work on the fundamentals of the game. How did you and your team approach this last bye week of the regular season in terms of balancing that rest, film study, and continuing to put the hard work in as you enter the final 4 weeks of the season?
Yeah, I mean, we're still banged up. We still got starters out and all that kind of thing. So Monday, we had film study. We watched film. We put a little extra time on that. And then Tuesday, we had our what would normally be a normal Monday practice. You know, we want to get ahead on Heard County. And so we took Tuesday and Wednesday and did our what would normally be our Monday and Tuesday type practice, 2-hour, 24-period practices. And we did those on Tuesday and Wednesday to get 2 days ahead of Heard. And then Thursday, we gave the kids off. And then Friday, me and the coaches, we went to scout at Temple versus Heard. So try to balance, you know, one, let's get healed up. Let's give the kids a little time off, you know, because you have a bye week. You know, both those kind of go hand in hand. And then we want to get a 2-day head start on Heard. And so we felt like we did that and had a good bye week last week.
Well, you had one other really cool opportunity during your bye week, and Matt's repping the team you went to go see. I don't know if he meant to or not.
You know, somebody that's a Georgia Tech fan should not have these colors in the closet. Isn't that right?
But you
I'm
do.
A Jacksonville State
and you like
so
the Falcons too, right?
And I like the Falcons, so there you go.
But I know you don't get a lot of downtime, and you miss a lot of family time during the season, but you got the opportunity to take your daughter to her first Bulldogs game. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yes, we got to take Grayson to her first Georgia game, you know, and on Saturdays when we watch football, you know, she always wants to know is Georgia playing, and she'll jump up on the couch with me and we'll watch Georgia play. So when we got the opportunity to be able to take her, you know, rare opportunity where we had a bye week and we'd have to work on Sunday because we had no film to prepare for or game plan to prepare for. So we were able to take her to Athens, and we got down there early, and man, it was really cool experience. We got so many good videos and pictures, and definitely a lot of memories. So that was really special. You know, I think my first Georgia game I went to, you know, the Dogs played Southern Mississippi, and Southern Miss was not very good at the time. So my daughter, I can think later on she'll be blessed. She got to see a top 10 game, Georgia, Alabama, electric atmosphere. But she really enjoyed it for about 3.5 quarters, and then about 11:30, you know, way past her bedtime, she ended up passing out on my wife's lap, and then I had to carry her back to the car and all that. But she had a blast till she, you know, ran out of energy.
So. You got your post-game workout in, hauling her back to the car then.
Yeah, definitely did. That was fun.
And, Coach, I'm sure this is probably not the first time that you've heard this from this person, but I'll give the comment here from Kelly Fountain, and I guess you could imagine what he said. Wayne, Roll Tide. Oh, man. Wow. Well, that's a good place for us to take our first break here on the program. We're hanging out with Coach Wayne Groves, the head coach of the Darlington Tigers. We've got a lot to cover on the show today. We talked about the previous game. In our next segment, we're going to talk about some different things, including the Getting to Know Coach Groves segment of the week. And I'll tell you a little bit about where that question was inspired when we come back from the break. Later on in the third segment, we're going to break down the opponent. Another tough one coming up, going to Heard County. It's the last long road trip of the season in terms of mileage and everything like that. So, and then the rest of the games will either be at home or local. So that's a good thing. But looking forward to it, and we're going to talk about it coming up in just a little bit. But first, let's take a break.
Are you shopping for a new car, truck, or SUV? Riverside Auto Group has a location to meet your needs. Browse their selection online at riversideautogroup.com or visit with them in person at Riverside Chevrolet GMC in Rome, Riverside Toyota in Rome, Riverside Nissan in Rome, or Riverside GMC Cadillac in Cartersville. Locally owned and operated by the Welburn family since 1974. That's Riverside Auto Group.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Week 6 edition of the Coach Groves Show. We're here talking with the head Tiger himself, and we're going to dive in to our next segment. So we'll start that, as we always do, by talking about the black shirts. So tell us about the guys that earned that honor.
All right, black shirts for the last couple of weeks. All right, on offense, he's been our kind of rock solid guy up front, and he plays both ways. But we thought in how he practiced, how he prepared, and how he played the week before that Bryson Jones gets another black shirt on offense. Senior, defensive line, offensive lineman. He's made an impact in just about every ball game. On the defensive side, it's a kid that's played linebacker. He's earned some simulation black shirts, but we moved him to, because of necessity and injuries, we moved him to defensive end during the Haralson County game, and he started kind of picking it up and doing really well. And then I thought he graded out as good as any of the defensive ends did against Pepperell. So Grady Ferguson gets the defensive black shirt. He's in there grinding out. Grady's a state championship tennis player. He is really phenomenal. Grady's probably about 5'10", probably 155 pounds, and he gets in there and he just competes. He competes, and you get everything Grady's got every single day. So for that, Grady gets the defensive black shirt. On special teams, I got a young guy who's really worked hard at his long snapping, his PATs and his punts the last couple of weeks, and he's really gotten better. And I imagine he's probably going to be our guy next year once Miles graduates. But Mitchell Ralton gets the special teams black shirt for his work and his dedication to keep getting better at that craft. On simulation offense, he's just been a starting linebacker for us at Sam, but when we're doing the other side, or we put the twos in there, he gets over on offense and he plays scout team simulation running back. So J.B. Ragland, freshman linebacker, running back, gets the simulation O black shirt. On simulation D, this is a sophomore who is learning football, but he just keeps getting better, and he keeps showing up. He's a good weightlifter. He's getting stronger. But on Simulation D, my man Channing Yu gets the black shirt on Simulation D. He just keeps on working, keeps on getting better, so he gets the black shirt for that.
Well, Coach, last week we spent some time talking about technology advances in terms of the film room and things of that nature, and I thought this week we could kind of keep a similar note to that, but obviously, football is one of those sports. I guess you could say that about every sport, but, one of the things about football is really glaring is how it evolves and changes over the years, whether that's offensive styles or way you play defense and just different techniques and things of that nature. So tell us a little bit about how coaches are constantly trying to learn and those sorts of things. Are there clinics or there are seminars and things like that you have to regularly attend to keep up with the current trends and techniques and things of that nature? I'm just kind of curious about that.
That's a really good question. And it's something that we're always going to do. Just like we ask the players to improve and get better in the off season, we're always going to try to improve ourselves as coaches. So there's basically 3 clinics that people go to. You have what's called the Glazier Clinics, which are put on by a huge organization. They travel all around the country. There's probably 30, 40 different sites in big cities, and even some cities like Atlanta, they'll do 2 Glazier Clinics. But they travel around. They get high school coaches to come in and speak. They get college coaches, and sometimes you'll get NFL coaches to come speak on various different topics. So as coaches, you sign up for the clinic, you pay a staff fee, and then you're able to go and attend whatever sessions you would like. Obviously, there's a lot of, the coaches will say sometimes the best times they learn is with other coaches, not actually in the sessions, but out in like little breakout rooms or to the side where, you can really dive into some things. But those things are always great networking things. And obviously, you're going to pick up on different things that, just stay with the current trends of football and what people are doing. The GACA, Georgia Athletic Coaches Association, they put on a clinic too for all the coaches in Georgia. That's a really good one. The Nike Coach of the Year Clinic, which is another national one that travels around. Our Georgia Athletic Coaches Association brings that one to Georgia. And again, it's the same thing. You get high school coaches speaking, you get college coaches speaking, you get NFL coaches speaking on various different topics. You break out and you get to see. I've been blessed to be able to speak at all 3 of those, the Glazier before, the GAC, and the Nike Coach of the Year Clinic, which is always a cool experience. Every college university, like University of Georgia, Georgia Tech, they'll do a coaches clinic where they invite the Georgia high school coaches or even coaches from other states to come in, sit in on meetings, watch their spring practice, see how they install things, and they teach you their offense and defense too. And you can ask as many questions as you want. So a lot of coaches take advantage of that. Those are always really, really good to do too. And then, just being able to go watch spring practices, watch drills they're doing, see how they install stuff is always pretty cool too. But, besides that, we'll get with, I've been coaching for 23 years. So, I've made a lot of connections in the state and have a lot of friends that coach and all that. So with the guys that are not necessarily in your region or the guys that are not in your classification, we get together with each other and sometimes we'll spend how do you handle this? What do you do to this? What's your philosophy on this? And a lot of times we get a lot more out of that than some of those in-person sessions with the college coaches, because usually you get kind of surface level stuff on that and don't really dive into the small, minute details that it really takes to execute things.
Which ones do you feel like you gain the most off of as far as how you change your strategies? Do you like to talk to offensive guys to see what they're doing?
Both.
Yeah.
With both. As a defensive coach back in the day, I used to go to more offensive things to see what they were doing, see what they were looking for, see what they like to run this play or this concept against or what covers up, and then still defensively. You're going to go and learn those things too and see how they're defending the most up-to-date offenses and things like that. So it's very, very cool business that we're in.
Continuing ed applies
Yes.
to every profession.
Oh, no doubt about it. Either you're getting better or you're staying the same.
That's right.
And so we're always going to try to get better and stay on the top trends of football, both sides.
So one more question about that. As far as like when you've gone to see NFL coaches, college coaches, is there anybody in particular that just stands out where you came away from it just absolutely fired up from what they had to say, or starstruck or anything like that?
Well, when I was at Valdosta, that opened up a lot of doors for me as far as continuing ed like that. And some of the best is not actually going to a clinic, but just calling up the college coaches and say, hey, can I just come down there and you give me 3 or 4 hours where I can ask you anything? So when I was at Valdosta, we got to go down Florida when Coach Muschamp was there, and we got to spend about 6 hours with Coach Muschamp. Wow. And just pick his brain on anything. A few weeks later, we went to Clemson when Brent Venables was there, and Wes Godwin was actually his GA then. He later became the defensive coordinator at Clemson and with the Arizona Cardinals. But he taught us the whole Clemson Brent Venables defense. We spent about 4 days with him. And
Get back coaching all.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so, those things are really good when you can just get that full access and you're not just getting surface level clinic talk, when you can actually dive in and get all the information that you need. Those have been really beneficial to us in the past.
That's awesome. That's some great insight.
And this is going to be a surprise to you, but we got the getting to know Coach Groves question of the week. We're going to have 2 today. I got another one. My mom asked me a question I didn't know the answer to, so we're going to find out here in a minute.
Nice, nice. Well, the first of this pair of questions was born on Tuesday when Matt and Monica were talking. You had a caller call in and suggest this, but what are your favorite board games? What do you play at home when you guys are?
All right, so this time of the year, we play board games at our house. Saturday nights. We usually have early Saturday nights, but we'll have friends come over, watch games, but we're big board game people. So let's start. When I was a kid, my grandmother, my dad's mom, Phyllis Groves, we call her, AKA, she's grown up in Lindale, and her nickname was the Lindale Wildcat.
That's a great name. That's awesome.
So my grandmother, Nana, as I call her, the Lindale Wildcat, we used to play Pollyanna. I don't know if you've ever played Pollyanna or not. It's an old school board game. I think it was maybe made in like the early 1900s, 1915s or something like that. But Pollyanna is kind of a race to the finish game. But it was a cool old school game that we played all the time when we went to her house. I like the game Risk. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The war game. I think that's pretty cool. So, and then my wife is a game connoisseur now. Like, she's always looking for the next game, cool game that's out, and she always wants to have friends over and have game night. So, some new ones for the people out there that are like to do games. There's a game called Code Names. That's really good. There's a game called The Chameleon that we've been playing a lot lately. Really cool game. So Chameleon, you have like 5 people playing. Everybody gets a card, and then there's one card in the middle that has 16 words. They're all related. So everybody has a code on their card that says what the actual word is that you're trying to to guess, okay, or that's in play. One person has a card that says, I'm the chameleon. So that person, you have to go around the room and you give clues to what the word is to let other people know that you know what the word is, but not enough to know exactly what it is for the person that's chameleon. Yeah. So when it's all said and done, everybody gives their hint, and then you got to vote on who you think the chameleon is based on the answers. Nice. So that's a pretty cool game. Yeah. If you haven't played the chameleon, and then she recently, a couple weeks ago, bought the one that says, I think it says, say what?
Say what?
I don't know if you've heard of that one, but you put the noise canceling headphones on, you're across the room, and you're trying to guess what the other person's saying, what their lips are saying.
I've played that one. That's fun.
So that gets kind of funny at times because, I mean, you just say all kinds of things, but that's been good. And then me and Grayson play, the classics. She likes Uno in particular. She has Paw Patrol Uno. And then
gotta be themed.
And then Candyland. I cannot beat that child at Candyland. She beats me every time.
That's funny.
Every time. And if we play me, Grayson, and Jess, then I'm always last. I'll be right there at the end, and then I'll get something that sends me back to the start, and they just think it's so funny. They laugh. They're like, I got you again. But Grayson likes Candyland and Paw Patrol Uno.
Nice.
You got a favorite?
I mean, as a kid, Candyland was one of my favorites, and then we played a lot of Skip Bo at my house, and TP Memory, where you had you had to match the Indians under. I played that when I was real little, to the point, and all my kids have found that in the toy box at my mom's house, and so I've played that with generations now. So yeah, those are some of my favorites. I'm a Cards Against Humanity guy, but we can't say any of that stuff on here.
Another show. I like Battleship and Monopoly and some of the common ones, but there was this one that was a little bit more obscure that a buddy of mine, and a friend you knew, because I think you rode the bus with him, but Rick Holloway, we'd call him Ricky back in the day. But anyway, he had a game that was called Go For It that came out in the mid-'80s. And basically you were trying to be a yuppie and acquire like fancy sports cars and mansions and things like that. And, it was very 80s. Yeah. But we had a great time with that game. Have you ever heard of that one?
No, Life. It sounds a little bit like Life. We played a lot of Life too, so sorry.
Yeah. But sorry. Well, the whole thing about the conversation we were having the other day on the morning show was, board games are one of those things in a world where we're all attached to our devices, looking down our phones and things like that. When you're playing board games, you're interacting, you're looking at each other, you're having a conversation. Right. And it's much more of an experience where you're together with people and enjoying their company and stuff like that, rather than just kind of tuned out watching a movie or something like that.
Yeah, we need more of that, don't we?
We probably do. We probably do. And I'm guilty just as much as the next person. But maybe it's time to get the old board games out. Sounds like you're
already. A deck of cards never hurts either, man. We played a ton. Man, rummy, gin rummy, hearts, spades, poker, you name it. Me and my dad were sitting around with a deck of 52 all the time.
Well, here's the second Coach Groves question of the week. My mom, for some reason, we ended up on the topic of baseball the other day, and I had mentioned to her that you played baseball at Pepperell, and she asked me what position you played, and I know you've told me, but I couldn't remember. I feel like you said you were in the outfield at some point.
Yeah,
but,
I pitched and played in the outfield. Yeah.
Okay, well, she wanted to know that, so anyway. But, well, good deal. Well, that's going to put a wrap on this particular segment, and we're going to take a break. When we come back, it's all about talking about the Heard County game because that's coming up on Friday. So we'll go ahead and take a break, but we're glad you're with us. This is the Coach Grove Show, and we shall return with the coach.
Are you shopping for a new car, truck, or SUV? Riverside Auto Group has a location to meet your needs. Browse their selection online at riversideautogroup.com or visit with them in person at Riverside Chevrolet GMC in Rome, Riverside Toyota in Rome, Riverside Nissan in Rome, or Riverside GMC Cadillac in Cartersville. Locally owned and operated by the Welburn family since 1974. That's Riverside Auto Group.
Well, we welcome you back to the live podcast video studio here on WLAQ, and we're glad you're with us. And we are back with the Coach Grove Show, rather. Sorry. I was just reading a comment my mom said, "Thanks, Matt. I had it wrong, didn't I?" She thought that you would have been an infielder for some reason, but anyway, I digress. We're going to go ahead and jump in and talk about the Heard County game, and of course, you guys have spent the last couple of weeks preparing to face the defending region champs. Currently 6-0 Heard County Braves. So obviously, they're a very good football team. Coach, tell us a little bit about what really stands out about them.
Yeah, well, they're a complete football team, and they're I think they have an 85 man roster. They have big O line, they D line. They have some really good skill kids that are really talented with the ball in their hand. And talking to Coach Lassiter, who's become a buddy of mine over the years, he feels like that they're good enough to win the state at single A public, and they may be able to, and all that. But I think what a great opportunity for us. What a great opportunity to go down there and play our best football, to go after a really good football team, and let's try to ruin some things for them. And so we've got no pressure on us right now. So let's go play our best football. Let's be relaxed. Let's go do our thing, and let's just let the chips fall where they may. So if we play a little bit better in certain situations, take care of the football, anything can happen in Georgia high school football. So the best teams don't always win. What I tell the kids, the teams that play the best win. So it's not always the most talented. It's not always the biggest or the fastest. It's the teams that execute the most and play their game plan and play their football style of football that'll end up winning that thing. So why not us? Why not us? Why not go down there and play your best football and let's get this thing rolling back like it should be. So that's going to be our message to the team, but it'll be a tough task. They are a good football team, and they've had a lot of success, but maybe they'll underestimate and maybe try to overlook the little Tigers, and we can come in and hit them in the mouth a little bit and see if we can handle them.
Well, we were looking over the roster, and the quarterback Tisdale, he's been there a couple of years now. He's got good experience. But who are some of the Braves' top players that stand out to you?
Okay, yeah. So I think their best offensive weapon is their quarterback, number 9, Ethan Tisdale. He's 6'1", 185 pounds. He's got some Power 4 offers, Georgia Tech offer at playing quarterback. Running back number 1, Darius Coleman. He's a junior, 5'10", 190. A couple of good receivers. Wide receiver number 2, Zayden Moreland. He's a junior, 5'10", 165. And then offensive coordinator's son, wide receiver number 10, Trip Kerbo. He's 5'10", 165 pounds. On the O-line, D-line, you'll see quite a few big guys. But number 55, Jackson White, he's a senior. He's 6'1", 290. D-line, O-line, 54, Tatum White. He's 6'5", 290. 22 defensive end, fullback, Max Lassiter. That's the head coach's son. He's 6 foot 220. And then you got DB free safety Andrew Tinker, and then 27 linebacker Jack Langley, who's a junior, 5'10", 180 pounds. They're all pretty good ball players.
Well, this is the Coach Grove Show, kind of starting to wind down a little bit. We got a few more questions, but Coach, you've talked a little bit about ball security, but, in addition to that, what do you think the keys are to having the best shot at handing the Braves their first loss, coming up on Friday night down in Franklin, Georgia? Well,
Heard's been very, very multiple on offense. I mean, you're going to get, 10 personnel, you're going to get empty, you're going to get 11, and you're going to even get like some 23 personnel with 2 tight ends and 3 backs and stuff like that. But with that being said, we have to play great fundamental football. We got to get the call. We got to execute the call based on game plan and what we've been taught in practice and individual drills. We have to play with great leverage and pad level. If they're bigger than us, we cannot stand up and try to go around with them. We got to stay low and play with great leverage and pad level. We got to have great communication on both sides of the ball. There's certain calls we want to be in for offense, certain calls we got to be on defense. So communication across the board to make sure everybody's on the same page is going to be key, that we get in the right thing that's going to help us be successful. And then last but not least, we can't have unforced errors, and we can't turn the ball over. So if we can do those things, we got a chance.
Well, if you're going to go down there to Heard and get it done and pull off the upset, you got to look good doing it. What's the unity combo?
All right, we're going to go back with the white jerseys. We're going to go back with the purple pants, and we're going to go with that combo. We hadn't done that in a few weeks, so white jerseys and the purple pants this week for the Tigers.
Be looking good on the road, and again, as Matt always does, if you want to tune in on the radio or watch the live stream, that's great, but come on down to Heard County and support these Tigers. Be there in person.
That's right.
We'll be excited to be there as always to bring coverage, but like Ian said, certainly the best place to be is at the game on Friday nights. So anyway, and we always like to wrap up by, thanking you, Coach, for your time. We appreciate you coming out to the studio and chatting some Darlington Tigers football and other things each and every week. We really enjoy it and look forward to it. So
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for all the coverage you give us.
We're glad to do it, man. Thank you. All right. Well, that puts a wrap on it. Do want to thank everybody for tuning in today. And make sure that you smash the subscribe button and follow and like on whatever it is, the Instagram. We don't have a TikTok.
Just say TikTok and Instagram. I like it.
It's
That's
Facebook
solid.
and YouTube for us, pretty much. We're on X, but I don't ever go on there anymore. So probably not much interesting there for you to see, but make sure you follow us. We appreciate you and hope you have a great night, evening, everybody, and go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of the Coach Groves Show. We invite you to join us again next week as we discuss all things Darlington football with head coach Wayne Groves. Go Tigers!